Hello trainers, welcome to another episode of Pokemon Go. So today we're showcasing a team that looks rather similar, but a little bit different. We have Ho-Oh as the lead instead of Groudon, all because of some little shift in the meta with Zarude, Zacian, and a few other Pokemon, but without a doubt, Ho-Oh has been a nice little upgrade for this team just with the new Pokemon that's been introduced into the meta. A little bit of a trend and all that fun stuff, but we're going to be showcasing two sets today that got me right to expert level in GBL. So without a doubt, let's jump into these battles and let's get into some commentary. So for a while when we started GBL Master League Classic for Season 9, I was using the same old team that got me to Legend from last season. And without a doubt, when I started seeing a lot of Zacian leads or even switches, I was freaking out a little bit, not gonna lie, because that Pokemon is so spammy. So I've been trying to work around with different teams. I've been experimenting a little bit, and it was working to some extent, but I was just so comfortable with this team with more or less Melmetal and Dialga in the back. It just was trying to figure out what would be a good lead instead of a Groudon, because the Dragon Tails are very oppressive when it comes to its fast moves, but the charge moves is what I was really lacking in the lead in some situations. So Ho-Oh was a nice answer to this because it can charge up energy really quick, and then on top of it, it actually pressures for shields. So in certain situations when we have a Zacian that comes in the switch, or if there's another fast move Pokemon that comes in, when all shields are down, we can kind of work the battles a little bit easier between like Ho-Oh or Dialga or Melmetal, depending on how I play it out. So in this situation here, as you can tell, we have Zacian here, and it's still a hard Pokemon to work with, but both of our steel types in the back can definitely counter and survive in a close combat from Zacian. And the whole idea in the situation when it comes to a Zacian switching is to make sure that Ho-Oh has some health and has some energy in order to win. So in this case here, I kind of made a mistake of maybe not going for the Draco Meteor, but probably because of the Zacian still in the back, it wasn't going to be in any help. So Palkia as a lead. So I didn't really do my studies on PvPoke when it comes to Ho-Oh and Dialga and Palkia, I'm sorry, but Ho-Oh loses to the one shield and the two shield situation. So we were up with a couple trainers before and I wasn't really knowing any better, and I went down to the one shield or two shields with Ho-Oh, and we still lose at the end of the game. But in this situation, I just went for the Brave Bird, and then I switched out into Dialga. Sometimes in this situation I should switch into Melmetal, because if we have an Excadrill in this situation, we can kind of outpace it as long as we have an energy lead. And depending on if they shield or not, we can go with the Rock Slide and double superpower afterwards, because we can survive a Drill Run. So it's a very interesting situation in that case, and you kind of have to study the team comps a bit. And that was one of the things I was talking about in my local chat, was that once you start to know the baseline of certain teams are being built, like Kyogre leads with Dialga and Togekiss, or a Giratina Origin with a Melmetal and an Excadrill, and a few other teams too, you'll start to see similar patterns or certain Pokemon that have been switched in or replaced to create like a little bit of a spice or just a little bit of an extra flavor to that team comp. So it's just a good idea just to pay attention to the common lines, to record or write down any of the team comps that you face, and then start memorizing those teams to give you a little bit of a better play. Because sometimes just switching that Pokemon from that trainer, you can still win those matches. It'll be a little bit tricky, but still you can manage to win it. So going back into the battles here, we have Mamoswine as the lead, and then in this situation we can definitely survive an Avalanche. With Ho-Oh, another good trick that I usually like to do, a tip, not really a trick, is to maximize your energy if you could, just so you're not debuffing yourself, because usually depending on what you come up against, you can lose to fast move damage. So they go into Lugia, and this is the perfect situation for Melmetal. We don't have to apply any shields in this situation. We can go straight Rock Slide, and depending on if we chip a little bit with Ho-Oh or any other Pokemon, you can actually go to farming it all the way down after surviving this Aeroblast. Like 9 times out of 10, or almost all times, Lugia just goes straight Aeroblast first, and then they usually go with the Sky Attack afterwards. So we win the switch here. They still have 2 shields, which is not really optimal, but now we see the Palkia here, which is really good in this situation for us. We just start chipping away, but we actually get a shield, and it's perfect. And now we can get into Dialga, and they switch into their Mamoswine, and this is really just fast move pressure at this point. We could just safely shield, and then we can just farm all the way down and we can win. But just to be extra safe, I'm going to throw the Iron Head here, and they just let it go because they know they can just lose the match. So GG's there for that match. But yeah, this team has been pretty good, but nonetheless, Master League Classic so far has been really fun, but really difficult at the same time. A lot of good battlers, and people are just being smart with their teams and how they're playing. It's been a roller coaster for sure. I've been going up really high, been going down just a little bit, going up, going down, but finally we hit Expert. And like I said, this is the 2 sets that we're going to showcase. This was, I think, a 3-2 in the first set, and then we had a 5-0 on the second set. So when we ever have a Giratina Origin as the lead, it's very tricky to know what they have in the back line. So typically, my #1 goal is to hit it with a Brave Bird and then dip. If they shield once, then I'll shield. And if they shield twice, then I'll shield twice, and then I switch out. So in this case, it's really funny because this trainer knows that they want us to throw first so we could be behind energy, so they then can spam with their close combats without really necessarily being debuffed too much. But my strat behind this here is to make sure that we're even on shields, and then I can go back with Ho-Oh, go with the Brave Bird and knock it out, and then hope for the best when the Tina comes in, we start farming down, and then we have a Togekiss. So in this case, we're just a little bit ahead of energy, and I think we can manage to get to 2 shields, or to 2 Iron Heads. And we definitely get the first shield here. They're going to definitely throw. I'm going to shields because I want to make sure I have as much health as I can to chip away against the Giratina Origin, and that's in the back. Again, that's the strat, making sure that we hit enough so we can come back and we can farm down and win those matches. Usually, there's not really a counter to Giratina in the back with the Pokemon that we have, so that's why I always try to kind of sacrifice my Melmetal a little bit when I see a Giratina Origin in the lead. Because again, teams that I usually see with Giratina Origin is Excadrill and Melmetal. That's usually my thought process of when I see one, I just want to be sure that I'm switching into the Melmetal and not the Dialga, because if we switch into the Dialga and an Excadrill or Melmetal comes in, that Dialga is just no use anymore. Then we have more problems with the Giratina Origin in the lead, and then Ho-Oh not having that much health or shields to protect itself. So here we go, another Giratina Origin. We're going to definitely get the shields here. Nope, we don't actually. Wow. And then we're going to just come in and we're just going to farm. We're going to let this go because we can survive either moves that it's being thrown at. So in this case, it's a Shadow Ball, and then a Garchomp comes in. So they have Dragon Tail. In most cases, they will usually have the Sand Tomb and Earth Power, but don't be mistaken, that could have Outrage. Has happened once in a while, but I think it was last season. Ooh, excuse me. But they Sand Tomb. In most cases, they usually Sand Tomb, but you want to pay attention to the counts because sometimes they do throw the Earth Power, because Earth Power is still a harder hitting move than Sand Tomb. And you do have to know that Ho-Oh is neutral to the EQs because of Fire being weak to ground and then being resistant against the flying types. So here we go. Giratina Origin comes in. We have a shield. Rock Slide would easily knock it out, and then they conceal the match, and we win there. So GG. So yep, that was a 3-2 in that case. We love seeing this Pokemon instead of Genesect because Genesect is always a pain to catch. Niantic, you gotta fix that, please. Gotta fix that. So, but yeah, here we go. Next set. Next set. Shiny, come here. Well, here we go. A Shundo Ho-Oh for you, buddy. So Ho-Oh leads are actually very, very tricky for this team because you want to essentially keep your Ho-Oh ahead on energy and possibly ahead on health. In this case, this trainer actually goes for the Brave Bird and Dip because they want to get the shields. But in this case, we're going to match the shields, and then what I do is I go up to the other EQ and get its last shields, and then we're going to bring in our Melmetal here So in this case, we can be ahead on our health with Ho-Oh, and then we can have a shield for the Melmetal just in case if Ho-Oh comes back in. So I want to be sure that we're protected against their Ho-Oh. In this case, we have enough for a Rock Slide, so if it does come in, we can then throw it. In this case, it's a Palkia, so this is looking very, very good for us. I just throw the Rock Slide here, and then I go Superpower because I don't want it to farm too much energy just in case it goes straight to a, a Draco. So we're going to go with our Dialga, and then they go in Ho-Oh again. In this case, this is just a winning match. I was going to see if I can get to the Brave Bird first, but they go Brave Bird first, and then I charge up a little bit extra, and I go with EQ here because I want to make sure that I have energy or health with our Dialga. But in this case, because it debuffed itself, we had enough energy to farm it down to get to the Brave Bird for the Palkia, and we win that match, and GG's there with that trainer. So a very interesting situation. I actually wasn't really planning on farming it down, but with the EQ, with the debuff from the Brave Bird, it actually worked out just perfectly. So moving on to the next battle here, we have Giratina Origin. So like I said, number one goal is to get damage off this thing as best as possible. We don't shield at all with the Shadow Ball or the Ominous Wind because sometimes they do fish for the boost. So we go with the Brave Bird. Let's see what they do here. Do they shields? They don't. We go right to Melmetal. And then if they don't switch, it's because they either wanted to tackle on the Shadow Ball damage onto Melmetal, or they don't really have an answer to Melmetal. But they do in this case, which is actually Heatran, which we don't see this Pokemon too much. So we just go spam out with the superpowers here as best as we can, and then we're going to bring back Ho-Oh and farm more energy as we could, because as long as we can get more energy with Ho-Oh, it could be more deadly in the closing situation. So in this case, this is definitely an Iron Head. We're going to shield here, and then we're going to immediately switch into our Dialga because we know they built up the 2 Iron Heads, and we actually got the bait there, which is perfect. And then we're just going to farm all the way down. So now we're having a lot of energy on both our Pokemon. Their Giratina Origin is low. They didn't even get to a move, which is perfect. And now they have a Palkia. So we have 2 Iron Heads and we have a Brave Bird. This Palkia is just gone at this point. We could have gone Draco here and just fished for the, for the shields, but they actually shield here. And then we actually win the CMP tie. And then we just go with the Brave Bird and we win that match. GG. So very, very good battle there. We had a lot of fun with that match. So like I said, with this team, if you can kind of protect Ho-Oh and have it have a little bit of energy, even when it's like down in the yellow or in the red, you still have an opportunity, depending on what they have in the back, to actually throw that extra move if you could, or at least give it a sacrificial swap, which most cases I don't usually do that. I usually have an opportunity to get to another move. So Giratina altered. This one's kind of tricky a little bit. I usually would like to go double Brave Bird, but in this case, EQ works okay. I, again, go to 100 energy, and then I build up to go to the EQ, and then I go Brave Bird here. So again, I just build up to another one. I should have just gone straight Brave Bird so I didn't have to shield here. But in this case, I just go right to the Brave Bird. I'm going to see what they do. They actually shield, and then I go into Melmetal. I'm treating Giratina altered the same way as I am with Origin, just in case if they have an answer in the back. In this case, they bring in a Dialga, so this lets me know that they actually have something weak in the back with Melmetal and not just only Dialga. So my guess is that they could have a Togekiss, a Flyer, maybe like Lugia or Yveltal, or even Melmetal sometimes, because if we're ahead on energy, then we can win that match. But again, for them to bring in Dialga, they probably don't have Melmetal here, so we're just going to go straight Superpower. I'm going to come back in with Ho-Oh. In this case, I was trying to dump the energy as quickly as I can, and I couldn't, so I'm just going to let it go. But we actually survive, and Togekiss comes in, and then we go right for the Brave Bird, and this was just the energy that we needed, the damage that we actually needed to knock it out. So we can come back in with Melmetal. We can go with the Rock Slide here, and they just let it go, and they're just banking on their Giratina altered to come in and win this match, but I don't think there's really any chance of it actually winning. So in this case, we have a full health Dialga with a shield, and we're just going to farm all the way down and we'll win this match. So they knew what's going to happen, and they concede, and we win that there. So here we go, right on to the next battle. 27-49. I was so pissed that I couldn't get to the expert with the one elo point. So Mamoswine is the lead. They switch immediately into Lugia. We switch immediately into our Melmetal here. Again, we can win the 0 shields. We can safely take an Aero Blast and a Sky Attack. But if they do get the boost from their Aero Blast, it gets a little close with the Sky Attack. So we just have to pay close attention. So in this case, I was just going to play around. I'm just going to go straight to Rock Slide. They usually don't shield. They're just going to let it go. A Palkia comes in, which is actually perfect. So this is looking very, very good for us. We're just going to chip away with the Rock Slides, and then they actually get to a shield, and our Dialga comes in. We're not going to wait for the time clock because we're going to farm as much as we can, get as much damage as we could. And then we're going to switch right back into our Ho-Oh against the Mamoswine. We get the extra Incinerate go through, which is perfect. Avalanche goes through. Again, we're just going to farm up until we can get enough energy. And then in this case, to make it easier, we're going to go EQ first because we can get one more Incinerate to get to the Brave Bird. But what I was trying to do is get to the... just to farm down. And in this case, I just farmed down with Dialga, and then they just concede the match. So I didn't want to use the shield there just in case if they build up to a Draco and knock us out in one hit. We want to have the shields for the Dialga. So moving on to the next battle here, we have Kyogre as lead. This is one of the hardest teams to face against our team, is having a Kyogre in the lead. This is a very, very interesting switch from our opponent. Usually they will stay in with their Kyogre, but what they did is built up some energy and then they switch into their Togekiss. They're just pretty much stacking their Togekiss, no sense of keeping it. And then I think they're going to come back with their Kyogre, farm a little bit extra, and we're going to see what happens here. Nonetheless, depending on how trainers really play out this match, we can either win with this team or lose, but always in this situation, it's more of a losing than a winning situation for us. In most cases, if they play it out, what they typically do is with Kyogre as the lead, they'll usually stay in and try to farm us down almost all the way. But as long as we deny all moves, the waterfall moves from Kyogre, we can actually win that match, or we can get a shield from that trainer. So in this case here, I stuck it in with Ho-Oh because we can survive a little bit with the waterfalls, but the main thing that I was trying to do is actually get shields. So it's very, very scary, but as long as we have 2 shields for us, we can farm all the way down, shield, and then go Draco with their Dialga and actually win that match. So there we go, guys. That was our 5-0 in that case. And like I said, this team is not perfect by any means. It's very hard. It's a little tricky with Ho as the lead. You kind of have to know the teams that you're up against. We don't win with all teams that we're up against as well too, but we kind of finesse a little bit. As long as we know ideally what they have in the back, we can kind of prepare what we can do with Ho-Oh and either switching with our Dialga or Melmetal, and we can see how things end up from there. But a lot of situations we do lose to like 1 HP from trainers because they just play out really, really well. And then other times I just make silly mistakes as far as like improperly shielding in certain situations and all that fun stuff. But without a doubt, it's worth a shot. Don't necessarily need a 100% Ho-Oh. I think just having one that has good defense and good HP is the name of the game. You just want more health in that situation. So, but thanks for watching, guys. Like I said, I'm trying to stream almost every day, but today is Sunday, so going to see if I can try doing Master League tomorrow before they switch back into Great League and Halloween Cup, if I'm not mistaken. But without a doubt, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.